You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
Coming to you from Magnified Cemeteries, Magnified Pod presents Magnifright Pod, a nostalgic sampling of horror indie bands from the Christian alternative scene. Put your tape deaths on record. I'm Count Andrew.
I'm John of the Dead. Get it? Dawn of the Dead?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
And this is our podcast. I may or may not have, screwed up the intro there, but you know what? It's fine. People know what this is.
I think that part is different than normal, but I'm not questioning it. So,
let's see. What did I say? Favorite indie horror bands. Covering your favorite indie horror bands from the Christian alternative scene.
Yeah.
Close
Whatever
enough.
it was great.
Whatever. I was trying to do it from memory.
Nailed it.
This is our podcast, and
yes.
This is week 3 of Magnifright Pod.
AKA the most wonderful time of the year.
John, what kind of dad are you? You're two different kinds of dads. You're two different daddies.
I learned via targeted ads on Instagram today that I'm a horror dad, which I can represent by wearing a sweatshirt that says horror dad. And I learned via shared text from you that our boy Mark Hack may be picking up a sad dad hoodie that the National is apparently putting out, which I would like to have both of those. So I'm a horror dad, I'm a sad dad. It's my time to shine.
And I'm not a dad, I'm just sad, so I don't know.
I'm not a dad, I'm just sad.
I'm not a dad. I'm just sad.
Should we have 2 seconds here to speak about non-spooky news, which is Tom DeLonge rejoining Blink-182?
I'm at the same time not surprised and surprised.
I saw rumors going around on Twitter. I saw some.
I feel like Mark Hoppus has been leaving breadcrumbs for a while.
I think Danny Leary is probably the one who tuned me on to it's happening soon. And I was like, is it? And it is. And they're doing a new album, which Tom calls their best album yet, which, a lot of people say that, but that does have me intrigued. And they're doing a world tour. Turnstile is opening. I was just like, Tom rejoining Blink, Turnstile opening, it pushes me over the edge. I'm going to do it. And then I was like, at the United Center. And I was like, ugh. And then it was like,
at the Excel in Minneapolis, in Twin Cities. So
the third level is $75. And I'm like, if I'm at the United Center, I don't want to be like so far away, but anything closer is like over 300. And I was just like, fuck this. But anyway, I saw them a long time ago and that was nice.
Yeah. We're getting to that age, bro, where the reunion shows are just so much money. And it's like, but I saw you in some shitty club like 25 years ago for like $10.
Right.
And now we're just at that age. And so if there's anything I can impart to the younger generation is just see as many cheap shows as you can now, because any of the
25 years later,
you're
gonna be playing arenas and it's gonna be too much.
Which is why I'm seeing Dury here in a couple weeks. I saw that they're a Minnesota brother sister band, and they blew up because of a song that they put on TikTok, and now they just got huge. And I saw them they played at the State Fair, and they're gonna be playing. I think they're playing the Fine Line. They're playing the Fine Line in a couple weeks. So I'm like, got to see him now.
I do now.
Because it's just, this is what happens. A band is, but I've seen a lot of shows this summer. So
it's true.
I feel pretty good about my stats for 2022.
Yes, you should. Yes, I wish this tour, if it were outside, if it were a summertime tour at outside venues, I would have shelled out and done it. But I can't. The United Center it's just a gigantic sports arena in Chicago that's cavernous and super far away from the stage. I'm just like, I'm not doing it. Although I don't know if you saw in the Discord that I did say like, well, I saw Blink multiple times in small clubs, so like I can't, that's been spoiled for me. I can't like do this now. And everybody's giving me shit about being a hipster elitist. And I was like, this is where Andrew would roast me on the pod for being like, oh, I saw him 25 years ago in a small club, and now I'm too good to go to the arena.
Well, when I saw them in the club, they sounded really shitty, so I loved it.
It's true. I was also having this debate with a friend of the pod, Patreon punk Tyler Day, where he loves the later Blink stuff, like self-titled, especially, which I love self-titled too.
Yeah, but that's a great record.
I was like, but the best album is Dude Ranch. And he's like, come on. I was like, I'll also accept Cheshire Cat. And he's like, it sounds terrible. And I'm like, yeah, that's the shit. So anyway, I know this isn't spooky, but I feel like you at least had to mention.
You don't even do you even like Travis?
Well, I remember when he did join, I was like, guys, are we sure we like this guy as much? And everybody's like, he's like 1,000 times better of a drummer than Scott. Was that his name?
So you don't even know his name.
No, I don't know. But yes, anyway, it will at least afford us new opportunities to try out the Tom accents over the coming months. Saw a good TikTok that you shared with me using that accent. Speaking of TikTok,
one day after listening to Blink 182, 1 week after listening to Blink 182,
1 month after listening to Blink 182. So good.
So ridiculous.
TikTok. Maybe we got to get Graveyard Club on TikTok, and that's how they'll blow up.
I know, right?
Anyway.
Stop sleeping on Graveyard Club, guys.
That's right.
This is their month.
Yeah.
Show them some damn respect.
Listen to their new record.
Put some respect on their name.
Anyway,
yes,
we're getting sidetracked here. We got a lot of spooky ground to cover tonight.
Yeah.
A band I'm very pumped / curious to talk about. Some good refreshments here. A quiz. I haven't made a proper quiz in quite a while for the pod, so I'm pumped for all this. We got some good voicemails and emails. But to kick things off, Andrew.
Yes.
I'm feeling parched after all that intro.
Yes.
I have tonight.
Yes, let's hear it.
A Howling Gourds pumpkin ale.
Ooh.
From Joseph Brow Brewing in San Jose, California. 7%. So kind of hefty for a pumpkin ale. I believe I've had this one before, and it's pretty much like a straightforward pumpkin ale, but
perfectly serviceable.
That's right. Excited to try it again. How about you?
Well, I'm so excited, John, for the spooky season. I'm about to have an ectogasm.
Ooh. So
this is probably the hottest brewing company to hit the Twin Cities in as of late. This brewery called Drecker.
Yeah, I've heard the name. I don't think I've tried anything.
Yes, they're from Fargo. So our neighbors to the north.
Yeah.
And they have all kinds of really wild cans. I have another spoiler alert. I have another Drecker in my fridge right now that I'm saving for another spooky time.
Nice.
But this is an IPA. It is 7%.
Okay.
Malt, pale, 2-row flaked oats, carafoam malted oats, Citra and Mosaic hops, and then they have a house IPA yeast.
Okay,
so
that's cool.
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody talk about their house yeast before.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a starter bread thing, basically, but for beer yeast.
Yeah, it's like this is our house red, and this is our house yeast.
I'll take the house yeast, please. Who's that guy on the cover there? What was the art? Some sort of monster?
It's got some like melting skulls.
Hell yeah, it does.
And this is like some sort of demon with like a pentagram on his head.
He looks a little green goblin-y, like
really
melted.
Kind of goblin-y, but these like skulls are like melting.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe like Slimer adjacent because he's all green, but like but look at that like giant claw there.
It's very cool. That art rules.
Yeah, it's very all the art is very much in this vein, kind of gross but super colorful and over the top.
Into it. I'm drinking my beer out of a Ghost Style Brewery pint glass. I don't know if you can see the logo there, but it's nice and spooky.
Yeah. Where's Ghost Style?
It's in Western Michigan. And it's
on there when you visited this summer?
Yes, I've been there a couple times. It's on this little sort of peninsula island thing that's supposedly haunted, which is why it's called Ghost Style, which is pretty cool in my book.
Nice.
That's refreshing.
Yes, I enjoy this. I haven't had anything. Sweet. I haven't had anything by Drecker so far that I haven't enjoyed.
Yeah.
So
I gotta check them out.
But also their logo is like a little Viking looking dude.
That's cool. I've definitely seen that guy.
Yeah.
Well, to pair with my beverage this evening,
yes,
the house candy tonight is Sour Punch Spooky Straws.
Ooh.
And I love me some Sour Punch straws and Sour Punch bites. These are the spooky varietal. We got a mummy on there and a zombie.
So apple, some grape, bats and flying in the
some
back?
Bats back there. Apple, grape, and tangerine. The spookiest flavors. I think because of the colors. So try these boys out. Those look pretty good. Let's see my little straw friends there.
There we go.
Anyway, what do you got?
Well, John, I have sort of an amuse-bouche, if you will. So, friend and brother of the pod, Brian, my brother, he heard the call. He heard us talk about Minnesota's largest candy store.
Yes.
And he went out there with his kids on a Saturday in the month of October.
Yeah, it's tough.
And he said it was just bananas.
I bet.
And he said the way that the aisles were set up was like, if you like stayed in the aisle, like you felt like you were holding everything up because there's like no way to really navigate around other people. But he says it was so big and there's so much stuff, but that he felt like there was no obvious place for like any sort of Halloween candy.
Oh, weird.
Like they like no like Halloween specific stuff that he could find. He's like it was a large store, but you would think that there would be like, here are our seasonal, spooky treats or whatever. Alas, there were none. So he came back empty-handed in that regard. However, bummer. I was not giving up because, you can see right now, John, I have my pumpkin here in the background that has my already pre-planned treats for this week. But coming off this disappointment of no spooky treats from the largest Halloween or largest candy store in the state.
Not even a Necco wafer?
Nary a Necco wafer. I decided after work, I walk by the Candyland in downtown St. Paul every day.
Yep.
This tiny, classic, many decades old candy store where they make their own popcorn and toast their own nuts and shit. It's very charming. It smells amazing. I went in there. I'm like, let's see what this old school candy store has to offer.
Wait.
And John, did they deliver? I got myself a bag of sour pumpkins.
Ooh.
So
hell yeah.
Did I snack on some of these earlier? Yes, I already did because I'm like, I need to. Yeah. I have my real candy, but
fair.
The sour pumpkins have like that gumdroppy consistency.
Sure.
But they're orange and sour.
That's pretty good.
Very happy with these.
Yeah.
I bought them blindly. And Kristen's like, what if you just bought like half a pound of something that's like sucks? What if it tastes like pumpkin? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
It's worth it.
I'm going all in on these sour pumpkins.
That's right. You gotta take a risk for the weird beers, for the weird candies, the weird ice creams.
But the best part is we got some gummy skulls, bro.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Look how terrifying that is.
It's a big boy. Some good texture on that guy.
Oh yeah, but you want to know what the other best part is?
Tearing into that skull. Oh, there's blood inside. It's like a giant gusher.
I know, man.
That rolls.
It's these layers of flavor and color.
That's awesome.
And like, yeah, it has this like right under the face. It has this like separate red gummy layer.
I gotta find these guys. I wonder if I could find them.
And it's like it's a different texture than the rest of the gummy.
Yeah. Jelly filled blood red gummy skulls.
Yep.
Are available on Amazon if somebody would like to experience these for themselves.
Candyland
came through.
St. Paul, old time candy store, 90 years old this year.
Yeah, that rules.
So
institution
coming through. So that aside, since I experienced all kinds of gummies today, I'm gonna go for something a little bit different. I've got some spooky lip pops.
Ooh, wow, those are fun.
So they are lip lollipops that you can suck on, and they give you different there's like some fangs, but they're called spooky selfies. So you can like take pictures of you with your
yeah, you're gonna have to do that and we can post them.
Take a hashtag lip pop selfie. All right, what do we got here?
Make a TikTok, put Graveyard Club on it.
Should I do some like green lips, or should I do some fangs? Should I do the fangs, bro?
Yeah, I want to see those fangs, bro. All
right.
These sour straws are really good. Ooh. Pretty good. Pretty kind of spooky. It's sort of like a ring pop.
It tastes like it says green apple lollipops.
Okay. It's not that.
It sort of tastes more like almost like caramel apple adjacent.
That's pretty good. Well, you look very cool. We got to get a fang selfie. You look sort of like a vampire with like an underbite.
Yeah, this is I think these are kind of meant for children. So
you got a big old mouth, like a little child taking a selfie. Perfect. That's great. You're living into your Count Andrew persona.
That's true. I would give these 2 fangs out of 5.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the flavor, not the green apple. Like when you think green apple, you
Jolly Rancher.
Like, you think that sort of like really tart Jolly Rancher flavor.
Yeah.
Not so much that.
Hmm.
So
I do love a caramel apple. I don't know how much I love caramel apple candy. Although sometimes they have that like, Jolly Rancher-esque green apple with the caramel on top of it and candy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm into that, but I've been striking out with candy. It's only because of Candyland that came through this week.
Yeah. Shout out STP.
Get them on the pod.
Keep it local. Yeah, get the Candyland owners on the pod. Well, you could wear that to a rave if you wanted to. Some sort of spooky nightclub. You could pop that
John,
in.
are you talking about that
the Shrek rave?
The Shrek rave that's happening at the beloved First Avenue?
It's like a touring thing because I saw somebody post about the Shrek rave in New York too. So
yes, it's happening December 17th in Minneapolis at First Avenue. It's called Shrek Rave: Shrek the Halls. And this is obviously it's something that's a touring thing, right? But my favorite part is it's dumb, just come have fun. Cool is dead, who cares?
It's such a it's Gen
so
Z.
It's so self-aware. It's so Cool is dead is my vibe. It is like I feel like leaning like, I'm not a dad, but I feel like that's such a dad thing to be like,
right.
It's like, it's like Grandpa Simpson. It's like, I used to be cool. Now,
Yeah.
Now what's cool is, weird and strange,
scary to me.
and weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
And it did. I just read an article this week about how Gen Z feels threatened by thumbs up emojis.
Yes.
Like they think they're like insensitive. And I'm like, I'm officially too old to even attempt to understand why Gen Z doesn't want me texting a thumbs up emoji at them. But
I mean,
so I've reached Grandpa Simpson levels.
I gotta admit, I get it. I understand. Sure. Because think about how is the thumbs up even in just real life. It's not used like, hell yeah, bro. It's only sarcastic.
I guess so.
It's used as sarcasm, or if you're like on a Zoom meeting and you're all muted,
sure,
and somebody's like, can you hear me? And you're just like, yep, can hear you.
I did that when we were starting tonight.
Yeah. So, but it's not like no one uses thumbs up in any way that to me feels affirming. No one's like, good job.
Yeah. I guess it's usually we're just like, sounds good. Like,
but you also, you're an avid thumbs up react text person. So
is that like a middle-aged thing of me to be?
No, I feel like for me this is just me, like, I don't know, am I Gen Z? I'm almost 39. I'm like, I think
we're elder millennials, but I think you're cooler than me, so you don't
that
how to do things.
That is patently false.
Well, cool is dead. Anyway, everybody go to the Shrek rave, report back.
Is John cooler than me?
There we go. I'm glad they're prepped and ready.
Is cool dead?
Imagine all the like remixes of Somebody Once Told Me. It's gonna be fun. The whole Shrek as meme wave kind of came post our generation, but I feel like it straddles the line too. Like, is this ironic? Do we actually like Shrek? Like, who cares? Like, Shrek rave. I don't know. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I feel like if I went there, I would definitely straddle the line between feeling like, hell yeah, meme culture, who cares, but then also feeling way too old to be there.
Yes.
I feel like who this is targeting is like somebody who is very solidly Gen Z, like
right,
22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And then some of the elder millennials who like were part of creating meme culture to begin with.
Right.
And then it would just be like the 15 year to 20 year age gap that exists there. It's like, this feels inappropriate.
That could be your sad dad. Yeah, I'm like, I'm using emojis are cool. This is still a new young thing for me to be doing. And like the fact that I think that reflects the fact that I'm 40, or I'm not 40 yet, but ever since I turned 39, I'm like, I'm 40, I'm fucking 40. And like the kids who are expressing uncertainty over my behavior would hear 40 and think like that's old, which is fair, because if I was that age I would think the same thing, and now I'm just that. So I'm embracing it, and we will fight that fact by eating candy and drinking pumpkin beer tonight.
But yeah, like when I was in elementary school, looking back at some of the teachers I had, I'm like, some of these teachers were like not that far out of college. And I like thought they were so much older than me. But yeah, we're pretty much decaying in the eyes of Gen Z.
It's true. But here at MagPod, we welcome all generations.
That's true.
We know it's a lot of sad dadcore, but we welcome the Gen Zers, the Zennials. I don't know. What are they all called? There's a bunch of different words for them.
I don't know.
but all are welcome, including if you decide to send us a voicemail or an email.
Ooh.
Got a voicemail line, right?
We sure do. 872-762-4763, 872-7MAG-POD. And John, you remember last week we had our dude Jason from LA,
of course,
share about his spooky college that was run by witches or something.
Cabbage Patch Bible College or whatever.
Yeah. So yes. So all right, we have some more Jason.
Yo, hey guys, it's Jason in LA. Stuck in traffic as I'm working, going from place to place, cleaning fryers. That's what I do now. But yeah, listen to your podcast right now as I'm driving, and just want to explain the Calvary Chapel Bible College campus. What I meant, it wasn't a witch college before. It's a campus where it has hot springs on it, known Marietta Hot Springs. So the campus has changed owners quite a few times. In fact, Calvary Chapel just recently had to sell it because of COVID. They had no retreats going on for like a year, and that's where they brought in most of their money. So they had to sell the campus, and now they're up in the mountains of Southern California. So that's kind of what it is. They had different owners throughout the years. They even had old black and white pictures, like in the offices and stuff, which are always kind of creepy to me. Mm-hmm. But that just explains that. So it just had different ownerships through the years. And then Calvary Chapel bought it and fixed it up really nice. I think they probably made a good penny on what they did to it by really making it a beautiful looking campus and updating all the buildings and stuff. But I have another story for you. I'll share one each week. This one is, again, when I work security, I would do graveyard shifts. So I would be working from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. Normally you work by yourself, but during retreats we had two of us on. So one night there was a little man-made lake on the campus. And around 2, 3 in the morning, the guy and I who were working, we were driving around the lake, and we see like a lady wearing like a pink bathrobe walking around the lake. And we're like, huh, that's weird. What's she doing out here right now? And so we drove up to tell her she wasn't from the camp, she was from the see what she was doing. And as we drove up to her, her body just kind of floated onto the lake and just disappeared.
What?
Oh, man.
And the rest of the night, him and I were just kind of speechless. We did think about that scene from Ghostbusters. We thought that she was going to come attack us, but so that's another one. I'll call in again next week. I have a couple others. So Magpie for Life and Mark Solomon. I think you guys should do Stave Taker, another Neon Horse, do Crucified, and I think he would be on the show. He's an awesome guy. I even have a crucified tattoo. So Magpie for Life. Take care.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. So a couple things. If you have like a really old campus or old building and it's littered with like old photos of like, yeah, that shit's haunted. You know, you're just inviting the haunting.
Right.
I don't, especially if you're already got spooky shit going on. Get those old photos, put them in like a trunk, wrap it in chains, throw it to the bottom of the haunted lake.
Yeah. Which clearly that lake is haunted. An amazing story. I love all these Bible college graveyard shift ghost stories. Jason's just been saving up all these years.
I know. Why
so happy
are we
to be
just hearing about now?
That rules. Mark Solomon also rules. Would love to get him on the pod. We talked about this. We must cover Stave Taker, and we will at some point. Not sure yet exactly how, but it would be great to talk to him.
Yeah. Some more Google Translate. Matt costs for life.
And then so MacBook take care at the end.
The MacBook. Tyler.
Hey boys, it's Tyler calling in from San Diego. Bit of local news this week. The boys are back. Tom is back.
Yes.
How about serving up a little bit of your list of favorite 10 Blink songs?
Ooh.
And no, John, you can't just list all of Dude Ranch. See ya.
This is amazing because I had no idea he was calling in with this, but I started off our Blink segment talking about him texting me about giving me shit for always saying Dude Ranch is the best. I struggle with this it could be a fun exercise at some point for us to do this. I know it's not related to anything we're talking about, but
right.
I feel confident in saying they would come primarily from Dude Ranch, some from Cheshire Cat, and some from Self-Titled. I feel safe about that.
What do you feel about like Take Off Your Pants?
Enema of the State was sort of where I parted ways with them, and it sounded good, but like maybe a little too good. I wanted a little shittier.
Oh my God.
And I think I was just at that pretentious age where I was like, all right, guys, like you had a cat on the cover and that was good, and then you had like a bull's ball on the cover, and I was like, okay, and then it's just like a porn star with like a, I don't know, proctology glove ready, and I'm just like, I don't know. It just kind of like the direction they were going was like, I don't know if I'm staying on this train. And then Take Off Your Pants and Jacket just like even further cemented that. So it's just kind of like out for that period. And their single then was The Rock Show or whatever, and I'm just like, sounds like Punk Rock Show, which is a better song. But then I came back around for Self-Titled, and I was skeptical, but when I listened, I was like, they're doing really interesting stuff on here. So I do really like that record, but it feels like a totally different band at that point. I don't know. What are your quick thoughts?
Self-Titled is kind of where my interest in Blink kind of ends, because like the second era from Neighborhoods on,
not into it.
No, California and 9 are just kind of boring albums.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to attribute that to, subtext who to attribute that to. But I feel like the lack of Tom has firmly cemented into the Blink-182 legacy that there's like this delineation of, pre and post Tom Blink. I feel like the Tom emphasis and his importance to Blink is really going to be put to the test with this new record, and the ways that people have built him up as like the principal reason why Blink was as good as it was.
Yeah, but it's a good question, Tyler.
We'll have to give it some more thought.
Yeah, revisit,
because I don't have any immediate thoughts.
Man, it's just so many bangers on Dude Ranch. Ooh, some bangers here too. What am I hearing? Ooh, little spooky laugh there. So, what were we hearing at the beginning? Let's say that one more time.
It's it sounded like a clinking on like a teacup or something.
Yeah. Master Foley artist himself.
Yes.
The Phantom Cackler. Thank you, sir. We're not normally
Cackler.
So blessed as to receive back-to-back sonic landscapes from you.
That back-to-back cack.
The cack attack is back, Jack.
On a DC track that's jacked.
But this is his month, so
that's
keep
true.
it coming. It sounded to me like when people like play on the like shelves of empty fridges as like an instrument, like. But I think you're right. I think it was more like a spoon against a cup or something.
He's making himself a hot cup of tea.
Maybe he's doing some Get Out mind melting.
I still have not seen that movie.
You gotta see it. You know about the like swirling the spoon around the teacup though, right? That's a thing you...
No, I don't know anything.
You gotta watch it. You got a couple more weeks. It's spooky season.
I know. All right, John, we might be in some trouble here. We might be in some legal trouble here. We got an email. And it says not again. And it's from somebody who was upset with us last year and was claiming we were ripping them off. Dear sirs, I cannot adequately explain how distressing it was to listen to your podcast and hear one of your hosts make up a scary story that was clearly ripped off from one of our songs. Here, take a look at these lyrics. They're so similar to his story, it's scary. This is, of course, from Harry Lupin.
Yes.
And he is, of course, a member of the Werewolf Reclamation Project.
Of course.
He was very upset.
I totally forgot about Werewolf Reclamation's project's song, Beware the Hat Man.
Yes.
I can't argue with this, but he has laid the lyrics out here.
The lyrics are right here, John.
Might as well read them out.
Yeah. Why don't you read verse 1?
Yeah. Check out the veracity of his claims.
Yes.
The summer is nice for a walk late at night, your girlfriend with you when you see such a fright. At the top of the hill, a jaunty man in a hat, skipping through shadows towards where you're at. Then the chorus. You want to take that?
Beware the silhouette, his face obscured. Hold your loved ones close, bad news ensured. Try to run away fast as you can. Beware the cape and cane, beware the hat man.
God, that rules. All right, you do verse 2 since you get to do the
verse 2. Try to brush it off as a costume or actor because he's strolling along in a thespian manner. You try to play cool, but this date is done. I'm getting scared. We need to run.
This is making me so happy. Then chorus again, beware the silhouette, his face obscured. Hold your loved ones close, bad news ensured. Try to run away fast as you can. Beware the cape and cane, beware the hat man.
John, I feel like it would be appropriate for you to take the bridge.
Take the bridge? I'm a big bridge boy. The bridge. Turn the corner, round the block. Shut the door, turn the lock. Run upstairs. We should pray. God, make this horror go away. Don't want to see what's in store. Don't want to see him anymore. And then closing with the chorus.
One final chorus. Beware the silhouette, his face obscured. Hold your loved ones close. Bad news ensured. Try to run away fast as you can. Beware the cape and cane. Beware the hat man.
Now,
so
Harry
we
Lupin,
here at the Werewolf Reclamation Project will not stand for this. Sincerely, Harry Lupin. John,
Harry,
what do you have to say for yourself? I did not know all these years.
I know. Yeah, I guess I'm just subliminally influenced by WRP's work. That's all I can say, Harry.
Yeah.
Much like the legal trouble we got in last year, which I believe our lawyer, Danny Stairs Esquire, was able to wriggle us out of. Might have to get him back for this one.
Yes.
It's like when a comedian steals somebody's bit. It's just so ingrained in me, Harry Lupin's work, that I just kind of forget that it's there. So I feel like you're
the Carlos Mencia of horror stories, I guess.
Of spooky stories turned into songs.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I feel like the only thing that we could do to really clarify this argument is to get someone to show us this song. If there's anybody out there who might have a song with these lyrics they could play for us. I mean, some people are saying Brandon Kiz, signal is going up in the sky. The Kiz,
that B Kiz,
Brandon Kisner might have something to weigh in on here about. Others are welcome to as well if they have this song ready to play for us. But you just let us know.
This bridge though. Turn the corner,
rules.
The block, shut the door, turn the lock.
It's so good.
Pit.
There have been several moments during this pod, many moments, where I've been like, how's this happening? And the story from my youth turning into amazing lyrics from somebody whose identity we don't know. I mean, this is why we do this pod. What an amazing thing. This made me incredibly happy. I'm going to read these lyrics many times. So thank you, Harry. Sorry to slander your good name, and hopefully we can resolve this in the future. But keep any other spooky songs that I ripped off coming if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Love this.
Can't top that. So I think we'll close the box on our voicemails and emails.
Close that coffin up.
Close it up.
Till next time.
I mean, Phantom Cackler followed by those lyrics, like this grin is just plastered onto my face.
Yes.
I'm a happy guy. And you know what makes me even, that wasn't words. You know what will make me even happier, Andrew, is
what's that?
The question that I have to ask you.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
We have a segment here we're going to pivot to. And I have two questions really.
Okay, I'm ready.
Question number 1. Would you like to play a game?
Hell yes.
Question number 2. What's your favorite scary movie? You think about the answer to that, because this week I have a hellacious quiz on horror movie history. Ooh. How hard will it be for Andrew? Can he make a Herculean effort and be a horror hero? So we got some horror movie history questions today. Do you have a go-to favorite? Have we asked this already? I'm sure I've asked this before in the podcast.
I mean, famously,
not a big horror movie fan.
Not great with the scary. As I've said many times, the inside of my head already scary and anxious, and enough. Fair. Don't always need more reasons to be afraid. But for you, it like sort of offsets the reality of the scary world somehow.
Yeah. Like it's like, hey, get that anxiety, get it out here in the open, and let's mess around with it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't truly have a go-to, because it's not some. I have like movies that I've seen, like The Shining. I've seen multiple times.
I think that's a good answer.
But it's, and I do love that movie. It's outstanding. But yeah, I guess I've never really put it into those terms.
Well, you think about it as we're going through some horror movie history here.
Sure.
Settle in if you dare. Some of cinema's most famous taglines come from scary movies, which have notoriously pushed the marketing envelope throughout film history with gimmicks and clever advertising. Which notorious horror movie had this famous tagline? To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a movie, only a movie, only a movie. Was it A, Psycho, B, The Exorcist, C, Freaks, or D, The Last House on the Left?
I feel like I know the answer to this because if I'm not mistaken, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my answer.
Okay.
I'm going to lock it in, and then if I'm right, I'll tell you my reasoning. I believe it is D, The Last House on the Left.
Locked in?
Locked in.
Andrew?
Yes.
You are correct.
Yes. All right. Did I know about this movie maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago? Absolutely not.
Fascinating.
The only reason I know this is because Paul F. Tompkins on social media put out the bat signal for the
little girl.
A commercial that he remembered from his youth.
That's actually a different movie.
Is it?
But you should keep going.
That's a different movie? Isn't
that like... one's called like it's something similar to that. But it's not quite that. Anyway, explain what he posted, because it was great.
But it also had a creepy girl in it, and then I think it also said this is only a movie, or it's only a movie. And I thought it was something about a house too.
The Last House on Dead End Street. I do not believe the tagline was "It's only a movie." But to confirm that, just real quick, I'm going to throw up the trailer for The Last House on Dead End Street. What he said was he was trying to place this terrifying commercial he saw when he was a kid, with the little girl's, the back of her head facing the camera, and then she turns around at the end.
It's only a movie.
Wow.
Remember, it's only a movie. Last House on Dead End Street.
So my reasoning was accurate, but wrong.
Well,
so I got the answer correct, but it's like when you show your work and it's wrong, but you get the right answer.
Well, it's totally fair that you thought that, because they clearly do say it's only a movie. Maybe it's the fact that so the wording for The Last House on the Left was to avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a movie.
Right.
So maybe a bunch of people stole that. This was the first. We'll go with that. But I love how, and when I did watch that, because that wasn't, I think I maybe heard the title of that movie, but I hadn't seen that commercial until Paul F. Tompkins posted it either. But I was thinking in my head, boy, the last house on Dead End Street sure sounds a lot like the last house on the left.
Right.
Last House on the Left came out in 1972. Last House on Dead End Street came out in 1977. And I think in my head I was like, and isn't that even the same tagline? So that's pretty funny. They were ripping it off left and right.
Yeah.
You still get the answer because maybe I should have thought about the fact that that's similar. I also watched that last week, so maybe it was in my head for that reason. But anyway, I'm sure others used it, but they were the first one to do it. And it was kind of a famous marketing campaign. The poster, I mean, this movie is intense, and it's Wes Craven's first movie.
Ooh. Clearly
a talented filmmaker, but it is not one that I would recommend. It is rough going. So the poster says, "It rests on 13 acres of earth over the very center of hell. Last house on the left. To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a movie, only a movie, only a movie." And then it says, has a picture of a dying girl, and says, "Mari, 17, is dying. Even for her, the worst is yet to come. She lived in the last house on the left." So it's like, Jesus. Yeah, good marketing campaign, though. Movie's particularly brutal, and that marketing campaign is fairly brutal. So yeah, they kind of marketed the intense subject matter of the movie by playing that aspect up, so you'd be susceptible to the idea that it's so powerful you might faint, as a way to get people to see it. A really interesting movie, and Wes Craven is a fascinating person. He went to Wheaton, in case we haven't talked about that on the pod ever. Was raised an evangelical and not allowed to see most movies until he got to college. And he started making movies right around the time of the height of the Vietnam War. So a lot of these movies, particularly that one, which is really visceral in its violence, are sort of in reaction to what was happening in society at the time. And his movies are often violent, but I would say treat questions of violence seriously, even in things like, the original Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream. Like, even when they get a little satirical, I'd say the violence is still like taken seriously in those movies. So anyway, an interesting movie, a notorious campaign. You're one for one, even if a little off.
I remember seeing New Nightmare in middle school, and it freaked the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's what's great. Is like, I mean, that's kind of the proto Scream, because it gets very meta.
It's very meta.
The
it's very
making of the
self-aware.
franchise.
Yes. Yeah.
He made the first movie in the series, and then they all kind of got. The first movie is scary and like not that silly, and then afterwards, Freddy just kind of became like a
cartoon.
Hey, bitch, like that whole thing. And he was kind of like, this is dumb. So they asked him to make a new one. And he's like, the only way I will do that is if I make one that sort of like talks about how dumb this franchise has become. So that's an interesting movie. Yes.
We sort of alluded to that last week in my quiz, talking about movies that sort of started off, like the first one is like dark and gritty, and then it just sort of all becomes cartoony.
Yep. It's all just swimming around my head, and I forget what's in there. Anyway, you're doing great.
All right.
Number 2. Among the many things The Exorcist is well known for is its reputation as a supposedly cursed production. Which one of these things did not happen during the making of the horror classic? A. Most of the set burned down during production, except for the bedroom of Regan, the possessed girl at the center of the story. B. An actor in the movie committed a murder in real life before the movie was released. C. Some of the takes during filming had to be stopped because of an untraceable sound that the cast and crew described as demonic-like whispering. Or D. During a screening of the film in Rome, a bolt of lightning struck a church across the street from the theater. So 3 of those are real, 1 I made up. Which one is it?
Another movie I've never seen.
Oh man, might be time.
Well, yes, I'm famous for never seeing a lot of movies that you have on DVD.
That's true. You're coming here in a few weeks. We might need to stay up all night watch some DVDs.
I know. We'll be seeing you for the Carly Rae show.
Yeah.
In a few
weeks. / horror movies.
Classic combination. Pop Queen and horror movies.
Uh-huh.
Burning down murder, voices, lightning.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm going to go with the one that you made up was the voices, and I believe that's C.
C. Final answer.
Locked in.
Andrew.
Yes.
You're correct once again. You're nailing it.
Oh man. Okay, so I need to hear about this murder. Who murdered somebody?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
The actor Paul Bateson, who plays a radiologic nurse in the movie and was a former radiographer in real life, was convicted of the murder of film industry journalist Addison Verrill and sentenced to a minimum of 20 years in prison just after he had wrapped filming on the movie.
Wow.
He was also suspected of being a serial killer. Other killings that ultimately inspired the movie Cruising, which William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, went on to direct also, which is a movie about Al Pacino going undercover in gay clubs in New York to hunt down a serial killer. He was also on Mindhunter, the Netflix show. So this guy really became, allegedly, a figure of, great interest around the fact that he was gay, and this was the 70s in New York, so a lot of the stuff was underground, and some of these clubs were like S&M clubs, and he would cruise, quote unquote, to use the terminology of the movie, and bring home these victims and kill them, including this.
Is he still alive?
He is still alive. He is out of prison, so I don't think he's really admitted to anything, but it's pretty clear that at least the journalist that he killed was that happened. So terrifying and weird. But he's in the movie for one of the more intense scenes in the movie where Reagan goes in for an MRI and tests and stuff, and he was actually performing the real tasks that you would do as a radiographer. So anyway, that's weird and terrifying.
Yikes.
But the other things are also true. In addition to those, the stars of the movie, Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn, both had permanent spinal injuries as a result of some of the physically demanding things they had to do. Just a tough production all the way around on that movie. Great movie. And I really tried this time. I was like, Andrew's going to know if I make this one up. He knows me, so I'm going to really throw some curveballs, but you just can't. I can't put it past you. You read me too well.
I feel like the lightning one I did was the only one I knew.
That's what. I didn't know that until I was preparing for this. I was like, well, that sounds like I made that up, but no.
No, I feel like that's the only one I feel like I heard.
Fascinating.
So, I feel like there are lots of movies of this era that have. What's the one with the girl who ended up dying?
Give me more.
She's with the staticky TV screen.
Oh, The Ring?
No. This is the OG.
Oh, Poltergeist?
Poltergeist, yeah.
The girl died in real life?
Yeah, that little blonde haired girl. She died when she was really young.
No, I don't think I knew that.
Went into cardiac arrest.
Jeez.
Was discovered. This was 1988, where she had intestinal stenosis. So I'm not sure what, but yeah, she was only 12. So
that's awful.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but I will say there's a great series on my beloved streaming service Shudder called Cursed Films, which is a documentary show about different productions that are supposedly cursed. And Poltergeist is one of the episodes, which I haven't watched yet, so I would have known if I watched that. But yeah, The Exorcist is in there, The Omen, Serpent and the Rainbow, all kinds of great movies. Twilight Zone, the movie, of course. That was a tough one. Anyway, so 2 for 2. Well done. Can you keep it up?
Oof. Let's see.
Let's find out. Many films try and claim the title of scariest movie of all time, but which one can do so with scientific data on its side? Network comparison company Broadband Choices has released an annual study for years that measures the reactions of hundreds of participants to dozens of horror films, observing spikes in heart rates and vitals through monitors. As of this year, which is the scientifically scariest movie of all time? Is it A, Host from the year 2020, B, Sinister from the year 2012, C, The Conjuring from 2013, or D, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974.
Oh, man. John, I think this is going to surprise you, but I've never seen any of those movies.
What?
What if I was like, oh, yeah, like Sinister. It's like my go-to, it's just
classic.
Like, it's my jam. This is a shot in the dark. I would be surprised if the Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be considered the scariest, especially if they're doing this every year. Mm-hmm. That if something like that would remain the scariest. Not that old movies can't be, obviously.
Sure.
Shining, still great, but I'm gonna have to go with Host. A final answer.
Host, the scariest movie of all time, you're saying?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
You're correct again.
Oof.
3 for 3.
That was a lucky guess. I was going with what I felt like the most recent movie, and maybe the kind of when did they start tracking this?
I don't know. It's definitely been years. I don't think it's like decades or anything, but
sure.
I remember reading about this, for the last more than several years at least. But you're right. I would have gotten this wrong probably were I taking it, because it tends to be that the more recent movies are the scariest. And Sinister, for I think 2 years in a row, had been number 1, which is pretty recent. But that was edged out by Host this year. The Conjuring at number 3 it was 3 and then became 4 this year. And that's, less than 10 years old. And I threw Texas Chainsaw Massacre in there because I was like, well, where are the classics? But that's number 15. So pretty far down the list. And I think it's like you're saying, people's sort of taste change. For me, I'd consider a lot of the stuff lower down scarier than some of these ones at the top. But having said that, I haven't seen Host. I've seen the other 3. Conjuring, really good and scary, by the way. But Host, I've been meaning to see. Despite its recent entry into the horror canon, director Rob Savage's low-budget, Zoom-based horror Host increased heart rates by an average of 24 BPM. The film has a short runtime and was shot in just 12 weeks entirely through Zoom video conferencing, but it narrowly edged out last year's winner, Sinister. And I heard really good things about Host when it came out, and it's a clever idea of like it all takes place in the Zoom windows, and one by one things happen to the characters. So I've been meaning to watch it. Sounds cool. Anyway, you're on fire. Will you get a perfect score?
Don't. Let's not curse me.
I'm not trying to curse you like a production of a terrifying 70s movie. But you might know. You might feel good about this one.
Ready.
The Cenobites of the Hellraiser franchise are some of the most beloved antagonists in horror. Pinhead and his crew of extra-dimensional beings are known for their love of sadomasochism and for their silly names. 3 of these Cenobites' names are real, and 1 I made up. Which is it? Is it A, Face, B, Stitches, C, Deep Throat, or D, Butterball?
Oh my god. Also never seen.
Another guy that loves to open the box. Pinhead.
Yes, Pinhead. I know there's something with him in a box, and it's some sort of small box.
You opened the box.
I don't know.
We came. He loves to give you some exquisite pain. That kind of thing.
I do remember very vividly the poster for this movie in my local grocery store video checkout section.
Terrifying.
In Salina, Kansas. I'm going to Face, Stitches. I'm gonna have to go Stitches. I'm gonna have to go Stitches. Locked in. Final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer.
God damn it, Andrew. You are correct.
Hell yeah.
How did you know that one?
I don't know.
I really thought
dude.
I had a convincing one there.
No.
Deep Throat? Butterball? Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like.
Damn it.
I don't know the tone of the movie. I was just like trying to go for like,
I know.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know, man. I can't come up with my reasoning.
I even had a few in there that I was like, nah, that's too obvious. Stitches, that sounds like a Cenobite.
I guess
Butterball and
maybe,
Deep Throat. I mean, those are ones that like, surely he threw those in there.
What's Butterball's deal?
He's a big fat guy. So it's a very sensitive portrayal of him.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So he's a fat dude with like needles in his face.
No, only Pinhead's really the only one with a bunch of shit in his face. Okay. I mean, they have different kinds of shit in his face. I'm googling Butterball Hellraiser. You see this guy?
Oh my god!
He just got a lot of chins, and he's kind of wormy.
Yeah, he's so damp.
They're all kind of damp.
Why is he so wet?
I mean, they're all kind of wet. I don't know. They're doing their thing. I think this is that's Deep Throat there.
Is this all of them?
Those are like the main core.
The foursome.
Kinda. There's Deep Throat. She's got some shit in her face too.
Oh, okay.
She's the High Priestess of Hell, in case you're curious.
What's her name?
And face. I don't remember face. I just saw that one. I was like, that's good. His face is coming off, which makes sense. All right, 4 for 4. We got one more here. Can you crush it? I think you can. I think you're gonna have a perfect 5 for 5, and this is after 2 for 5 last week for me, which is standard. Anyway, here we go.
Ready.
Producer William Castle was a pioneer in horror movie gimmicks and conceptualized many elements of theatrical presentation that made his films famous. Although each of these answers is a real theater gimmick used for film's release, Castle only came up with 3 of them. Which one didn't he create? We got A, House on Haunted Hill, which was presented in Emergo, in which a skeleton with red lighted eye sockets floated on a wire over the audience. The Tingler, presented in Percepto, in which vibrating motors were attached to the bottom of some audience member seats. Scent of Mystery, presented in Smell-O-Vision, which injected 30 different odors into the theater's seats when triggered by the film's soundtrack. Or D, 13 Ghosts, presented in Illusiono, in which audience members were given a handheld ghost viewer to see ghosts through during segments of the film. Which one didn't William Castle create?
Oh, Bill Castle. All seem like very immersive ways to watch a film. I've never been to a film in which something like this was ever utilized.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would love it and have it feel like, oh wow, or if it'd be like distracting and take me out of the movie.
Right.
I'm gonna have to go with Smell-O-Vision, that he did not come up with Smell-O-Vision.
Andrew,
Yes.
I'm here to tell you,
Oh no.
in this 3rd week of Magnifright Pod,
Yeah.
that you have achieved a perfect score.
Woo!
That is correct.
Hell yeah!
Well done, sir.
Oh my god. Is this like the opposite of your superhero quiz where you're like
yeah, maybe.
Like, I love superheroes, and I'm like, I don't know anything about
I
horror.
think you've been hiding a secret horror cinephile history that I'm not aware of.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. And it's not like I can even say I'm just good at tests, because I'm also not good at tests.
I think you're good at the ones that I give, because maybe I'm not always nailing
No,
which one I'm lying about. But
no, this was a really good and very interesting quiz. I wish I could be.
I wish I did worse.
I know I wish I could be into horror movies because it's such an interesting subculture that is so rich with stories that I would like to be able to. I like spooky stuff in theory, but I just I just don't know if I just don't like watching people die, I guess.
I understand that. My quick aside on that before I celebrate your win further is to say my favorite kinds of stories are the ones that are about sort of like a particular society at a particular time. So like a period drama, if you will, about an event that happened or society or something. And I feel that ghost stories are the most effective way to tell those kinds of stories often. So it's like I like the spooky stuff, but I usually like what they have to say about whatever sort of people or culture or whatever that story has come out of. And I feel like ghost stories are often a way to sort of like confront the troubling aspects of a society that they haven't confronted. You know what I mean?
You mean like a blue-eyed model girl in a box?
Exactly like that. And I love horror movies because I love movies, period. And I feel like horror movies are such a celebration of all the things that cinema can do, like visuals and framing and movement of a camera and editing and music. Like it just, I feel like horror movies are able to, in some of the best ways, like use all the elements that make movies effective. So those are why I love them so much. You did great. I think if you would have given me this quiz, I would have certainly gotten some of them wrong. But yeah, smell-o-vision, I questioned because I'm like, well, the other ones they just end in O. There's no vision at the end there. But smell-o-vision was created by Hans Laub. Similar concepts that came later included smellorama, aromarama, and today that 4DX technology, which I haven't done either. And I'm with you that I'm like not particularly drawn to it. This is where they like can like punch you in the seat and like release mist and smells into the crowd. And I'm like, I don't know if I need that. I do like seeing an IMAX movie and being close to the screen and having it so loud that it like shakes my seat. Like I'm into that, but I don't know that I need like things flying at me or smells in my face or any of that stuff.
I understand it as a gimmick, but I kind of want the movie to stand on its own.
Having said that, I love Avatar deeply. I saw it 3 times in IMAX 3D when it came out. I got it on DVD and never watched it once in the last 10 years, partly because I'm like, well, that's so much of the experience was watching it like that. They re-released it and I missed my window to see it. It was in IMAX 3D again. And I'm like, well, I could either do that or watch it at home. And I'd so much rather do the other thing. But like, I'm pumped for Avatar 2, man. I feel like everybody was skeptical. And I understand if you don't like Avatar, but like, it's maybe not the greatest, most original story, but like the experience of watching it was like one of the best cinematic experiences I've had. So I feel like there's a lot to be said for that sort of, you know, the presentation of like IMAX 3D, like experience a movie that way. So
yeah. Say what you want about James Cameron. He makes get a tub of popcorn. He makes a movie.
Hell yeah. As far as like movies, nobody does it better. I mean, people may do it, you know, whatever you want to call movies, like if Spielberg or whoever does that, but like cinematic spectacle for throwing back some popcorn. I mean, Cameron's the king. So
we're talking Titanic, we're talking Terminator, we're talking one of my all-time favorites, True Lies, man.
True Lies is great.
True Lies. We got Arnold, got Jamie Lee Curtis, it got Tom Arnold. You got
Bill Paxton. Yeah, R.I.P. I loved Bill Paxton.
Yes, he was so good. Are there some problematic tropes about, you know, terrorism? Yes,
among other things.
But you know, so many classic Arnold lines in that movie. I'll say this: James Cameron, taking his sweet fucking time with Avatar.
Hey,
but if it's worth it, it's worth it.
It's gonna be great. T2 Aliens also in the mix.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Anyway, I'm excited.
T2, maybe one of the greatest action pseudo horror suspense movies.
Yeah, certainly some thriller.
I don't know. I don't know where you put Terminator. I mean,
the first Terminator is certainly more horror
feels horror adjacent
than T2. Yeah, both great in different ways. T2, one of the earlier R-rated movies I saw.
Yep. With 100% more lying to cops.
Yeah, very true. William Castle, by the way, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but those movies are great, most of those movies. And there's a great Joe Dante movie called Matinee starring John Goodman, which is about William Castle. Anyway, that's the quiz. Well done.
Thank you.
Nice to put on the Quizmaster pants occasionally, but I know who the real quiz daddy is around here. So I'll take the mantle occasionally, but happy to pass it back to you.
Pass those pants back.
The Brotherhood of the Traveling Quiz Pants. And on that note,
yes,
should we take a break and come back and talk some SS Bountyhunter?
Yeah, I think we should. When we come back, we're talking that SS Bountyhunter album, Serpents for Eggs.
I'm Avery Smith, and I'm here to invite you to Blessed Are the Binary Breakers, a multi-faith podcast of transgender stories. Whatever your own relationship to gender and spirituality may be, you will find yourself enriched by the stories shared by my guests, who so far have ranged in religion from Christian and pagan to Jewish, Sikh, atheist, and beyond, and have hailed from the US, Chile, Poland, Australia, and more. Tune in wherever you get your podcasts, or read along with episode transcripts by visiting blessedarethebinarybreakers.com. See you there.
Hey, John.
Hey.
Have you heard of Small Step Records?
The name is familiar, but tell me more.
Well, Small Step Records is a faith-based DIY record label with bands that are melodic punk, pop punk, easycore, emo, and ska. And they have some new albums and new bands releasing records right now on all streaming services. You should check them out.
Andrew, not only that,
ooh,
they are MagPod's first official sponsor.
Oh, really?
Starburst got nothing on these guys. All right. These guys are the real deal. The tagline is love God, love others, listen to pop punk. You can go to smallsteprecords.com, check out the cool records and merch and bands they have, and we will be, through their generosity, offering some giveaways in the coming weeks and months on our socials of some of these Small Step Bands records. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Also, John, unlike some record labels, which may have come up over the course of the podcast, the artists on Small Step always keep 100% of the rights and ownership of their music.
Yes.
So any money that goes to Small Step goes directly back into supporting the bands. This is a label with integrity, so you love to see it.
Love to see it. Small Step. Check them out.
Smallsteprecords.com. We're back.
Spooky in here.
Yes, talking SS Bountyhunter, talking Serpents for Eggs.
Yes.
Which is a very weird album title.
Everything about them in this album is very weird.
Ooh, you said it, John.
I already know the answer to this, but when did you first hear of SS Bountyhunter, Andrew?
Probably last year when someone suggested them, and it was probably around the same reasoning that we didn't cover them last year, that why we didn't cover
Mercury
Radio Theater. Is like, it's like, oh, there's no lyrics really,
a lot of instrumentals,
a lot of instrumental. What do we and we're like, oh, this is a little too weird, maybe for the first Magnifright pod.
Right. I'm enjoying it because we're really descending into the depths of the weirdness of this
subgenre. This season we're getting very niche.
Very niche. Pod. I've had a couple people be like, I haven't heard of anybody that you guys have been covering on the podcast like in a couple months. And I'm like, well, what can I tell you? Magnifright pod, I'm here for it. I've really been enjoying it, so I hope others are too. But yes, we had a few people suggest them last year, but in particular, I found this email from Patreon punk Jared, who suggested covering them and said, their live show centered on a guy whose main purpose was to intimidate the audience by pointing at people, swinging nunchucks, and cutting things with a sword. There's also another guy who would come out with a gun and a walkie-talkie, pretend to get a message, then whisper in the first guy's ear. Then they would both point to someone in the crowd. Then they later grabbed what must have been a plant from the audience and taped the guy to a chair, Reservoir Dog style, cut him up, fake blood and all, then dragged him off stage. Then at the apex of the show, they dragged a body-shaped mass wrapped in garbage bags out on stage and chucked it into the crowd. All this while the band played surf rock. Pretty entertaining. So I couldn't forget that description. That's a description you don't forget. And they've been on the list since last year. But one of the more mysterious bands we've covered. Hard to find a lot of information about these guys. And I will say a couple of people have come through since we talked about Mercury Radio Theater with some additional information, which I appreciate. So same question here. If folks have more info and details about SS Bountyhunter, you let us know. But I believe the lineup was John Dees on vocals and guitar, Becky Pleman on vocals and keyboards, Josh Pleman, Adam Fletcher, and Mike Coles.
Any Jesse Plemons on here?
Jesse Plemon's not available, unfortunately.
Okay.
That'd be so awesome if he was just like the background, like rhythm guitar player. John Dees, also referred to as the head bounty hunter, was in the band Clay, which I think was a hardcore band before SS Bountyhunter, and both bands played Cornerstone a lot. SS Bountyhunter not kind of known for these infamous Cornerstone shows, and I think that's where most people knew them from. I believe they formed in the mid to late 90s in Anna, Illinois, which is in southern Illinois. And they've got a whole sort of mythology that I can't totally unpack, although I look forward to trying to do that with you tonight about this album. But Opus magazine interviewed him in 2000, and they asked about the band name, and he said, the SS stands for serum seed, which is our paraphrase for the Holy Spirit. A serum is an antitoxin. It's something that cures an illness that you have in your body, and the seed is something that is planted inside of us. It's the serum seed. The more it grows, the more that serum can work against the human illness in our bodies. That's what the Holy Spirit is. A bounty hunter is someone that receives a bounty by either bringing someone into captivity or putting someone to death. The SS bounty hunters are bounty hunters that are controlled by the serum seed, the Holy Spirit. The serum seed directs them as to what things either need to be brought under captivity or put to death. By doing those things, the SS bounty hunters receive a bounty. So that's a lot. And I don't fully know how to take it.
I like to think of it more as some sort of ominous black ship.
Yes, I know. I assumed it had
and not that convoluted.
Right. I assumed they sort of had
complicated explanation.
Yeah. I guess I just thought there was like a pirate thing here, but there isn't. They were just like, yeah, they came out in like suits and killed people in the audience and stuff. It's wild. I love that this was at a Christian festival, and like, again, we can talk about the degrees to which these spooky Christian bands are effective or not effective in terms of sort of their theology and their approach, but I just love that it exists regardless. Like, I love that there's a band whose whole deal was like killing people in gruesome ways in their live show playing at Christian festivals. But they were very theatrical, obviously known for audience participation, threatening the crowd, nunchucks, weapons of all kind. And their first record was a self-titled concept album released in 1997, about a day in the life of a bounty hunter, and that had a much more surf sound, as we've come to expect from a lot of these bands. There's definitely like a surf element. And the record we're talking about today has surf elements, but they intentionally said they wanted to go weirder and darker, and I think they succeeded at that. There's some surf. There's definitely some electronic elements, a lot of dance beats. There's some goth rock, I would say.
I saw one subgenre referring to them as minimalist.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Because sometimes it does feel like there's a lot of sparseness and lots of space in things happening. Some lo-fi things going on too.
I think that's part of what makes them so effective and effectively creepy. I'm here for it. It's garbled, it's sinister. There's some wild stuff here. It's all unsettling. As we said, like maybe half the songs on the record are instrumentals. But I don't know, man. I love this. I really like every song on this album. I'm very here for the style of sound and the vibe and the world they've created. And I there are elements of it that are disturbing, and I think intentionally. Although when I read his sort of goal or thesis statement about what they're doing, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. Because some of these songs are sort of mysterious, and I would say there's sort of a loose concept album here, maybe. Certainly stories told with like metaphorical intent.
Yeah.
But I'm not always as sure about the metaphor, like not even in terms of like, does this work? Just more like, do I even understand what the metaphor might be? But I think a lot of sort of like spiritual warfare, certainly, grisly imagery, violent lyrics, as we said, they had a violent stage show. But certainly nothing explicitly Christian either. They don't go out of their way to make any of this obvious, and it's really only if you're kind of looking for what the metaphor might be, I think, that you can kind of pull on that. But I saw somewhere that they said maybe they were inspired by Psalms and like the telling of these violent or tragic stories through that lens. There's sometimes in this where I'm like, is the bounty hunter the hero, the villain? Is there a relationship that forms here? Is the bounty hunter or the victim Jesus? Like, I don't know. So I'm curious to hear.
I don't know. I see a lot of Jesus's crucifixion, death, and resurrection.
Yes.
In a lot of this, like just in the song titles too.
Right.
Beating, Secrets in Blood, Break My Heart, Break Your Heart, Just Before You Die, By Dawn I Am Silenced, Mystery, Broken I Stand. This all sounds like a very linear death of Jesus and like crucifixion and resurrection, sort of like just by the titles of the tracks alone. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but
no, I think you might be. There has to be an element of Jesus' sacrifice to this stuff. It's too like baked into the whole idea.
Right.
Where I sort of question things is like, who's murdering whom? And like sometimes it feels like we're cheering for who is supposed to be Jesus as he's maybe like murdering somebody. So I don't know. It feels a little bit like some of those Neon Horse songs where I'm like, what are we? If you kind of peel this back,
right.
Are we like celebrating stuff that I want to be celebrated?
Right.
But maybe that's the point too, is like, it's not really a celebration. Like, this is creepy stuff. So I don't know. You mentioned sort of minimalist. One of the things that reminded me of this band, Section 25, which was like an English post-punk electronic band from the 80s. And they too have like these kind of big space in their sounds and spooky synths, and it's kind of that vibe. So I am here for all this. I like the spooky synths and the many ways they're employed here. I don't know. I'm into all of it. But we should say this was released. Serpents for Eggs was released May 6th, 2001 on Velvet Blue. It was written, recorded, and produced by the band at Room 12 Studio in Jonesboro, Illinois, which is also Southern Illinois. And anything beyond that, it's kind of a mystery. There's not much by way of credits. You can find on Discogs the liner notes and the lyrics and stuff if you want to look more into that. But that's about it as far as information. These are the only 2 records they did. So curious, again, if folks have more information or thoughts in general. But yeah, another band I would have been fascinated to see live, obviously. Excited to dig in.
While in last week's episode, you and we're both very much on the same page about Mercury Radio Theater and the sort of the power of the storytelling between the songs, which really set the tone for the like, even though there was like so little lyrically happening on Mercury Radio Theater, I feel like there was just something so profound with that record. And musically, I was so into it. And this is just like really not my vibe.
Yeah.
It's again, avant-garde stuff, weird stuff. Like I'm into, obviously I love Tom Waits. Like, so it's not like, oh, I don't like weird artsy stuff. It's like, that's not true. But I don't know. This is a
different strain of that.
Yeah. It's not hitting for me.
Sure.
And I'm very much open to the conversation about like what I might be missing lyrically.
Sure.
And there's some stuff that like really cool, very atmospheric, and I really enjoy it. But it also just seems like I'd probably rather like just see them than maybe sit down and listen to the record.
I think that's probably true of a lot of these Magnifright pod bands, is perhaps crafted for a stage presentation more than just sitting around listening to them. And I think most people who went to Cornerstone, especially in the sort of early 2000s years, have some stories to share about a lot of these bands we've been talking about. And that's kind of, I think, the main appeal, is these theatrical live shows that people began to know these bands for, and that was the draw. So a bit of a different thing to just listen to the record without that context 20 years later. But
exactly.
I don't know. I was always into it, but the first couple listens, I was like, boy, this is pretty out there. And it really took a few listens to really get hooked into the wavelength they were on. And once I did, I was just like, I really like every song on here. So eager to talk about it.
All right, let's get into it. Opening track, Beating.
My number 3.
This is my number 2.
Okay, cool.
The songs that really highlight the fuzzy or deep sort of resonance synth part, is those kind of hook me. And that something that's like a little hooky, earwormy.
Yes.
But there's like lots of washing happening, and the sort of the creepy, whispery, sinister sounding vocals too make it like having that be the starting track is just like, this is weird. What is happening?
I think that's what was kind of throwing me the first couple times, is like, immediately it hits you with the which they sound like kind of bad and like flat and like creepy, and I assume that's all on purpose.
Very thin,
and then the creepy vocals, the sort of like one track talking like this and then another track of a whispered vocal layer on top. And the first time I heard that first 30 seconds, I was like, is this going to be a Rackets and Drapes situation where it's like, we're so goth, can you believe it? Like, but I don't think it is that. It's not sort of like weird for weird's sake, because I feel like each song, for the most part, sort of settles into a song structure that I'm like, oh, even if they're weird, a lot of them do have a sort of traditional structure. And as you said, a lot of them are very hooky. Like, they know their way around a catchy central hook. So the like both the sort of cheap sounding and then the warbly like spooky synth that comes in on top of that, I'm just like, I love it. I love the like combination of these two things, that drum machine and then the synth bass that comes in, where just like all of that sort of feels assaultive when it all comes in at once. So it's kind of fast, but then it slows down for sort of like a chilled out groove that gets like, I don't know, I guess it's an extended bridge where the whole thing just like slows down to a different time signature, and then picks back up again in a fast way with that central riff again for the ending. But I don't know. I really like it. Certainly a weird start to the album, but I like the sort of creepy tone it sets immediately. Lyrically, like intensely violent. I assume it's sort of the experience of the first victim of the bounty hunter on this album. Like it's almost teetering on the edge of nihilistic in the way that some metal bands can be in their lyrics, where it's almost like reveling in death or murder. But this to me feels like purposeful for the story they're telling and the metaphor they're using, even if I can't always track what the metaphor is, like I said. But so it starts out, my eyes are seeing something, nothing at all, and then gets to empty, empty slowly. I couldn't see destruction's advocate and gradual defeat, defeated. And that's how it ends. So it's like a person dying in real time. So I'm like, who is destruction's advocate? Is that Satan? Because like Satan wants destruction, or is it God? Because God is like an advocate for people who are being destroyed. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope I survive this beating. I hope I faint in your arms. Hold my empty husk.
Ugh. It's tough.
It's tough. I don't know who's being beaten here. I don't know if it's humans who are trying to, if we're being beaten by sin, or if this is Jesus being beaten and he's like, God, have you forsaken me?
Yeah, could be.
I hope I survive this.
I like that read. I'm gonna go with that one.
Am I see nothing at all? I don't know.
Yeah, it's dark.
I couldn't see destruction's advocate. Maybe he's like, God sent me here to die, and now I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take that. I like that. I mean, I think there is an easy way, especially after reading that interview that I read an excerpt from, to see this as another of many sort of bands we've covered in Magnifright Pod thematically, where it's like it's all about sin and like falling into the clutches of sin and fighting that sin. Which again, like it's not like I'm opposed to that. It's just like, and I guess it's an easy metaphor if you're a spooky band talking about evil stuff to have it be like sin. But if it truly is just like as simple as like, well, we're bounty hunters, and we're bounty hunters who are employed by the Holy Spirit to kill the wicked, it's like that kind of is a bummer. So
yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. I like the song a lot, but yeah, I think there's probably more, even though it's like the band are murderers in their show. I guess it's all to sort of evoke Jesus' experience in some way. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting titled Officer Down. Should mention this is an instrumental.
It's also my number one.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
Not in your top 3.
No, it's not. Tell me more.
I'm glad that you chose this as the theme song to use this week, because this to me is the obvious choice. Like that central hook that starts immediately is just so Halloweeny and spooky. I love that melody and the sound of the guitar and the synth. It's like it's such a great spooky central riff. I don't know, I love it. It's a really cool vibe. I think the synths sound awesome again here. That hook modulates where it's like, where it goes up, and I'm just like, oh, you can go anywhere with this little It's a little melody, and it keeps descending like it's just, I don't know. There's no vocals, but it really hooks me, and I like the sound they establish here. I added it to my Halloween playlist, which is the highest compliment I can afford a spooky band. I don't know. I not long into the song, everything drops out except for the guitar, and then it slows down. And the band comes back in, but it's still a slower, still spooky groove, and then it kind of goes into this whole trippy, creepy section. And then the hook comes back in at like minute 3. So it's a long one for them. It's 4.5 minutes. But I really like the sort of the journey that it takes you on. And I guess I'm just here for, I don't mind at all spooky instrumental.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Stuff at Halloween. So I guess it floats my penis, as you would say.
Yeah, it doesn't float mine fully. It's not like I dislike it. There are just other songs that I think we're looking for different things in spooky songs.
Sure. Just a good vibe.
Good vibe. Just doesn't go go anywhere.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
It doesn't justify an almost 4.5 minute.
Sure.
Time.
And I'm more like, let the sonic landscape wash over me in a spooky way. As you said, an obviously provocative title in Officer Down.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what's happening. Perhaps it's another victim of the bounty hunter. Perhaps the bounty hunter is being referred to as an officer. Is Christ the officer? I don't know. But I don't know.
Don't want Jesus being referred to as a cop.
No, thank you. Not for me.
Yeah, you know that classic story of Jesus going into the temple and being like, "Stop resisting."
Right. Boy. No, I don't. It could just be like an ominous title for an ominous title's sake, but
sure.
I don't know. Into it very much.
Serpents for eggs.
Yeah.
This is my number 3.
Okay, it's my number 2.
All right.
Good shit.
Yes. Really dark and weird, guttural, low. I don't have any like artsy or flowery language for what the synths sound like.
It's that deep rumbly bass that when you hear it live like shakes in your guts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. Kind of a similar melody here to the last song, but it works for me. A great synth sound here and a great melody. That simultaneous synth bass line that you're talking about with the higher on top of it, just like what a great combo. It's so cool having those together.
Yeah,
comes in with those live drums like immediately. You're just like, ooh, live drums. Like drum machines have their place on this record, but when you hear actual cymbals clanging around, you're like, this is great. And it's just a really catchy melody of a hook. It does that thing I love where it's like da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na, where it's like an ascending vocal melody while the instrumental melody is like da-na-na, 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 like the descending instrumental with the ascending vocal. I just love that combo. Always works so well for me. And I mean, we have her vocals here, which kind of start out spoken word for the verses and then move into these cool, ethereal female vocals for the chorus. And anytime she's singing like that on this record, I'm just hooked. I think, I'm a sucker for just like ethereal female vocals in general, but when they're like got some spooky synths under them. Just like this is the best.
The death toll merchants, as some have known, we dream of serpents and cast our stones.
Pretty good line.
In this elite empire, we walk through the flames to feed on any blood waiting for sweeter veins.
It's pretty good. Those are the same lyrics I wrote down.
Yeah.
So that's the first verse in the chorus that you just read there. But is it bounty hunters or their victims? I guess it's the targets of the bounty hunters, like dreaming of wicked things and judging others, if we're using that metaphor. Because it's like we dream of serpents and cast our stones. Maybe that's what it is. Are the bounty hunters the death toll merchants? I think so. So maybe they're dreaming of the sort of wickedness and they're casting their stones in the sense of judging them by killing them. Yeah, maybe. I wondered if, I'm not sure what the title means, but it sounds deep. It sounds like there's a lot there. And I will say, I wondered if it was possibly based on Isaiah 59:5, which says, they hatch the eggs of serpents and spin a spider's web. Whoever eats their eggs will die. And when one is broken, an adder is hatched. So like those who plan wicked schemes and execute them are bringing destruction upon themselves. To eat of the eggs is to fall in with evil schemes and be ruined. So perhaps that.
It's a pretty metal sounding psalm.
It's pretty, hell yeah. They hatch the eggs of serpents. Whoever eats their eggs will die. Eggs, those serpents' eggs. I mean, serpents for eggs is just a cool concept, whatever it is. But
yeah,
I think the idea of, if they're thinking of themselves as the smiters of the wicked on God's behalf, I could see it sort of being like, oh, the wicked who are eating these serpents' eggs are going to die by our hand. They brought it upon themselves, that kind of thing, maybe. But I don't know. It's easy to associate like wickedness in some of these horror Christian bands with sin and getting pulled into that, like I said. But I don't know. This feels like a specific kind of wickedness, not just like lust or whatever. And obviously what Isaiah is talking about is like the wicked, like the powerful, the wicked who are sort of controlling a society in an unjust way. So I like to think that that's more the kind of smiting that they're bringing, but I don't know. I don't even know if that's what it means. I don't know if Isaiah has anything to do with this, but it could be.
John, when we start our horror punk band, all of our songs, as we've said, are going to be about like, surfing vampires and skateboarding werewolves playing guitar.
No metaphors.
Also, what's that?
No metaphors.
No metaphors. Just like werewolves and like monsters beating up the rich and like
hell yeah.
I don't know, like destroying Teslas and like
Dracula took down the 1%.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's the title there.
Yeah, like Dracula's like feeding on the veins of Wall Street.
Yeah, this is good shit. Write this down. Sounds like a concept album for us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Monsters Destroying Capitalism sounds like kind of surf rock album I can sink my teeth into.
Oh man, hell yeah. And can you imagine the music video of like you and me dressed up as monsters, like getting arrested on Wall Street or something? It's like a la Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Sleep Now in the Fire style.
Yeah, can we get Zach De La Rocha to join our horror surf punk band?
I mean, he's not doing anything.
Ooh,
sorry,
bummer.
Zach.
Too soon.
Yeah, single tear formed in my eyes. I was making the joke. Yes, can't wait for that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the target is here, but it's super cool. Obviously, it's the titular song. It seems to have the most plays on the album, so I'm guessing this is kind of, if there was one they were sort of well known for. I don't think there was any sort of like single push here, but I would guess this would be it. So
I mean, you're right. It does have 1,300 plays, and they are getting 18 monthly listeners. So
oh man, that bums me out. This is cool stuff.
It is, but John, it's like it is even in the
niche within a niche within a
niche audience that we have.
The Russian nesting doll of
the Russian nesting doll of the Christian alternative scene, and then going into like the indie, more indie bands, and then getting into the indie horror bands of the how deep can this go, John?
Right. Little hint for next week that we may cover some similar terrain in certain ways, but this is probably the weirdest the Christian scene can get, right? Like
next week.
Well, I meant this week, but we do touch on bands that also went for that in different ways next week.
Yeah.
But truly the sort of edges of the Christian scene with some of this stuff, like,
yeah, right.
It's creepy just for any scene, and so for a Christian scene, extra creepy.
Yep. All right. Join me, John, as we walk through the flames. This is a really
so
cool song.
Yeah, this would be
also instrumental.
Top 5. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's also an instrumental. This is like giving me some like Matrix soundtrack kind of
interesting.
vibes.
Yeah, I could see that. Some drum machine beats in there.
Yeah, I think with anything that's instrumental, it has to hold its own with the melody, which I think this one definitely does.
Totally. I said earlier this would be my top 5. It's got this kind of long reverby guitar intro, as we heard, before settling into the which is like a riffier hook, harkening back to their surf roots a little bit. But then these like sort of twinkly synth line comes in on top of it, the like and like, oh, this is cool. Like a cool sound, a really cool melody, especially on that chorus. I just love the melody, what the synth line is doing there on top of all the other stuff. I think once that kicks in, it really comes together for me, and I'm like, oh, this is great. That was what like kind of surprised me about this record as a whole, is like a lot of it feels sort of inaccessible when they start, and then they all, for the most part, sort of settle into like, oh, there's just like a hooky melody here at the center of this weirdness. But
yeah,
anyway,
I just want it to sound a little better.
Nah, keep it shitty, bro.
New Magpod merch in the store. Keep it shitty.
What did we say before? Mostly fine, a little shitty.
Mostly fine, a little shitty.
Yeah, we should make some shirts with that too.
The Magpod slogan of that's the
established 2018.
Yeah,
mostly fine, a little shitty.
All right, Secrets in Blood. The longest song, almost 6 minutes.
Yeah. But here we go. Hell yeah.
All right, this is my number 1.
This song absolutely rules. I really like this one.
Yeah. This is like 3 songs in one.
Yes, it is.
They're like 3 kind of separate sections of the song.
Yeah.
And this one, the first couple minutes of the song, the first 2 minutes are like, would be very much perfect for anybody's spooky Halloween playlist.
Yes.
It like has this as this
organ sound. So good.
And the tremolo guitar.
Yep.
Yeah. Just sounds really great. But then it sort of shifts about almost 2 minutes in.
So cool.
Very spooky.
So cool.
I don't know if that's like if I'm hearing theremin on this record or if it's
just
like,
synths that sound theremin.
Synth theremin adjacent synths or something, but it's got that
it sure does
sound, which I'm into.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten to the vocals, which come in almost 4 minutes in. Yeah. And I love that too. So if we could hear some of that in this next section.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, John, why don't you read some of those? Just not very many lyrics, so why don't you read?
Well, they're pretty intense on this one as well.
Yes.
Which I think from the perspective of the bounty hunter this time. But this is the end of all we'll know of you. So cry into those hands before they strike you down. Secrets I send written in blood from you. I want to hear cries from deep beneath the ground. Yeesh.
I want to hear your cries.
Oh yeah, sorry. I want to hear your cries from deep beneath the ground.
Yeah.
Which is what a line that is.
Yeah.
Like that's a Halloween song line.
Presumably buried alive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're supposed to show off. This is where I'm questioning because I'm like, are we showing off how evil he is? This bounty hunter is, but isn't the bounty hunter like the agent of justice? So I don't know. Clearly someone's being murdered and the person doing the murdering is like, yeah, I want you to cry. I'm writing things in your blood. I want to hear you cry from deep beneath the ground. Just like, geez, this is intense stuff. And yet it's delivered in this beautiful melody and like, again, dreamy female vocals. Again, feeling very Twin Peaksy here for me.
Sure.
I might be looking for Twin Peaks everywhere I go, but this is straight up. This is a like Julie Cruz from Twin Peaks like sound. But yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. The first section, the reverby, surfy guitar intro with the drum machine, then that great organ sound. That's also like spooky, reminiscent of horror surf rock stuff. But then it surprisingly takes this turn and just like the song structure and where it goes, like. Even though, as you said, it's a really long one, it's almost 6 minutes. I don't mind it. It feels great. Yeah. Like it's not like, oh, we're still on this one. It like keeps taking interesting turns. And there's so many sections of that would make a great background score to some of it is like a fun, spooky movie. Some of it is like a serious part of a scary movie. Like, as you said, that sort of cool distortion and feedback section that comes in with like the theremin sound all over it for a while.
Right.
Just vibes, baby. Vibes for days on this one. So great.
Yeah. Into it.
I like your choice of number one.
So we both have our top three.
Yep.
In the first 5 songs.
Yeah, my top 3 are the first 3 songs that they were for last week. Not in order this time, but still kind of like, all right, I guess we're done with my faves, but I like all these.
Break My Heart. No, that's the name of the song. It's not what John's doing. We just started getting into some of the vocals there.
Yeah.
As we escaped before dusk, we found that your night could not hide our truths. I never suffered so much as when you offered to clean my wounds.
It's a good line.
I mean, Jesus, right?
I think so, but it's like, okay, so again, like the victim is escaping the bounty hunter, I guess. But
I don't know. I'm losing the metaphor in a lot of these.
I know.
I think I'm once you explained the SS bounty hunter thing, like, is that like, is the bounty hunter supposed to be like the character in the songs?
I don't know.
Is that just the name of the band?
The first album certainly is a concept album about a bounty hunter. So maybe I'm overreaching with this one to make them all about the bounty hunter again. But I guess it's just like, certainly they're all about murder, which is what bounty hunters do. So, but yes, I mean, it's undeniable that there's a Jesus aspect to this stuff. The stuff about offering to clean my wounds, I mean, that's sort of Jesus-y. I mean, it evokes aspects of the Gospels. And then it says, counting the bodies around us while holding the hand which had stricken them down. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but there's a suggestion of some sort of like establishing a relationship between the murdered and the murderer. So maybe that's murderer. Maybe that's Jesus. Maybe that's God. The idea of like holding the hand which had stricken them down. I guess I had initially seen it as sort of like establishing a relationship with this bounty hunter, like getting to know, maybe even in a romantic way, this person who has been killing people. But maybe it's also like Jesus is holding the hand of those who are striking him down. I don't know. There's a lot going on. It's cool. The fact that it's called Break My Heart and it bleeds right into the next song, which is Break Your Heart. Kind of a continuation of the last track.
Which
suggests
is a even more descriptive,
disturbing yes
song.
Yeah, Break My Heart. We heard some of the spoken word lyrics. It's a short song, but it's like, I don't know, it's definitely more of a sort of vibey spoken word track than like a proper song. Although I'm digging the spooky synths and the drum machine, but where it leads into the next one I like more, at least musically.
All right, let's break your heart then.
So cool. Into it.
I really like those. The guitars are like giving me a little bit of a Pixies vibe. Just
yeah,
sort
I
of
can see that.
Wow, wow, wow. It's
right,
just
right.
sort of like twangy and
yeah. It's weirdly pretty in its way.
Yeah. I haven't really said anything about any of the vocalists. Not especially strong vocalists.
No, but it's more about vibes, I think, than performance.
Yeah.
That cool, warbly, spooky central guitar line, as you said, does a lot for me. The like, and just that combined with the female vocal sound, even though it's not like, what an amazing voice. It's just that and the female vocals, and then these cascading synth lines of like, like,
yeah,
it's just so cool and serene and such a spooky melody. It ends with this like transistor radio modulated synth sound, which is really cool. Again, just vibes. So many vibes here. And bad vibe. Ooh, yeah. So good. That's so great. Hit me. Yes. Every spooky song should end like that.
John just finished live on the pod.
We'll see you next week. The lyrics though are not good vibes. Break your arms, crush your skull, shattered wrists. It wasn't my goal. I didn't mean to make you cry. I didn't want to say goodbye. I think you knew it from the start. I really meant to break your heart. There's so many different ways you could take this. Like, okay, assuming there is like a bounty hunter here, is this the bounty hunter apologizing to the victim? Is the victim apologizing to the bounty hunter and taking revenge? Did they like establish a relationship, but then the bounty hunter killed them anyway? Is it all just a Jesus metaphor? Like, is it Jesus being killed and like God being like, I didn't mean to make you cry, or like Jesus telling like his followers like, I didn't mean to make you cry? I don't know. What do you think?
My basic read is, we are sinners, sinning hurts Jesus, and I didn't mean to, I don't want to,
but I didn't mean to break God's heart by sinning.
Yeah. Interesting.
What about all the arms and skulls and wrists? That's just like,
dude, we sent Jesus to the cross because of our sin.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's interesting. It's probably like all more straightforward than I'm making it. but
the bounty hunter, is it his arms? is it whose skull?
No, you're probably right about all this. Yeah, I didn't mean to make you cry. I guess that's yeah, you're probably right. But even if that is what it is, like, again, you kind of have to not like look for it hard, but like it's not hitting you over the head with it, right? Like,
no, this is an album that you, again, very much like Mercury Radio Theater or Neon Horse.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear the Jesus if you're not actively looking for it.
I hear the Jesus. That sounds like a line from a sermon, Andrew. You're not going to hear the Jesus if you're not actively looking for him. Anyway.
How are you going to hear the Jesus if you have those AirPods in?
And you crushed my skull.
Yeah, you've severed my neck. Did James Hetfield borrow his like enunciation from like Southern preachers?
I do wish more preachers went ooh when they were opening up the gospel. Yeah, that's good. Somebody should do a Metallica mega church pastor.
If you don't accept Jesus, you're going to get fuel and fire, and that what you desire.
Who's the master of puppets? It's Satan. I don't know. This is good stuff though.
Is Satan pulling your strings?
Man, we got an album to write. We got some sermons we could write. Real easy sermon. Like, there's like sort of a Mad Lib structure to certain sermons, right? You can just kind of plug in the.
We'll do that. We'll do some Mad Lib sermons at some point.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, like, as we've said, there's this sort of, and I don't want to put all this on these bands. I don't know what their theology is exactly, but like, there's a certain strain of evangelicalism that loves to relish in the violence of the crucifixion and the blood of Jesus, and making that about yourself, that like Jesus crushed his skull for me. And I don't like the idea of reveling in that for the sake of, it just, we make that joke before about like metal bands being similar to Baptist songs where it's like soaking in the blood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Get more excited about songs that talk about the way that Jesus lived and the peace that he came to wage and the love that he came to share, rather than just like focusing so much on the blood and everything. And again, relating that to just like personal salvation. So I don't know if that's what's happening here exactly. I think there's enough going on that doesn't have to be just that, but when things do tip too hard in that direction, I do get a little bit like, oh, what is that what we're talking about? So I don't know.
Yeah, I think talking about the stuff that he was crucified for would be maybe a little bit more interesting, because we've all heard this album before. We've all heard this song before.
Amen, Pastor Andrew.
Just before you die. Ooh. This is so cool.
So cool. It's just outside my top 3. I really love this song.
Yeah.
And we didn't even really get to what I love about it, but I mean, there's that long atmospheric synth intro that we heard, and then like that electric piano line over it. We heard that brief female spoken word part before the drums and the central guitar hook of the come in there, which rule. But then when the verse kicks in with these like cool, spooky, ethereal vocals and big reverby drums behind them, that's when I really get into it.
Right.
But then the chorus is really what puts me over the top. Like the combined descending female vocal with the great central guitar hook that we heard, that absolutely rules. So if we could hear some of like 204 where that happens. It's so cool. That rules. Right?
Really, yes. It's really cool. I like this song. I like the vibes more on this song than some others. But yeah, should we read some of these lyrics?
We sure should.
Now the time has arrived. The ways that I work will astound us all. Are you familiar with my ways? I have drowned legions of men in their own tears. These are my eyes. I believe you should now be weeping. No, you will not be missing the breath I'll be keeping with my hand on your head and my feet on the water. Below the sky, let it rush in and let you die. Tonight, I'm taking it all. Tonight, I'm taking the fall. I'm going to bleed all over your body. Rest assured, the taste of blood will satisfy.
Again,
very
fine line here between like, what'd you say?
I said this is all very on the nose. Like,
well, is it though? Is it just Jesus making a sacrifice, or is this like the most metal, like murder song? Like, which one is it?
Talking about like the time has arrived. The ways I work will astound us all. Are you familiar with my ways? Like just before you die, I'm like, Jesus is dying, and like you should now be weeping. Maybe they're crying that Jesus is dying. Hand on your head, my feet on the water. Because Jesus walked on water.
Right. But then it's like, let it rush in and let you die. Like,
rest assured, the taste of blood will satisfy. Like, we're gonna die, but like Jesus's blood will satisfy us when we have the elements, I guess.
I'm gonna bleed all over your body is like us taking the elements or us accepting Christ.
Maybe.
Interesting.
It's a lot of different Christological metaphors that I think are just like thrown together in ways that sound kind of metal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I don't think it's...
I said it was interesting.
I said it was interesting.
Wait,
what good does that do?
What does that do for the greater good?
For the greater good. That's what I want to ask about some of these
Is
songs.
it because she's alone?
But yeah, I guess yes, there are obviously things here that evoke Jesus with walking on water and familiar with my ways, and taste of the blood satisfying being, an ultimate sacrifice. But I'm also like, what does it mean? It's like, let it rush in and let you die. I'm going to bleed all over your body. Like I do think you're right. Probably that it's like, yeah, like let you die, like accept death.
Or like die to your former self.
Yeah.
Die
okay.
to sin.
Yeah. That's something that a lot of these horror bands like, is that idea. But I guess it's so like, you're going to die and I'm like kind of going to kill you. Like, it feels like you're really, a lot of these songs sort of like, okay, so it's Jesus, but then it's like, wait, is Jesus murdering me? Like, a lot of them sort of walk that line, but you're probably right that it's just sort of about, sacrifice.
You're going to die and I'm going to be the one killing you.
That's kind of what it feels like. Like, Jesus is pretty scary on this album.
Yeah. I mean, he's been pretty metal on, that
this season,
that neon horse.
Yeah.
Like, invite him. Yeah. Invite those people up there. There's people that didn't make me a lot of money.
Right.
And fucking kill him.
Kill him. Bring him to me so I can kill him.
Yeah. This is our album, titled Money for Jesus.
Right. Again. And it makes sense that that's sort of the thematic terrain that these scary bands do. Cause it's not like it's going to be like, and Jesus loved so well and he, undid social norms. Like, that's not spooky. Like, there's a way to do that, I suppose, but it's much easier to be like the blood in the skulls, like murder. I don't know. I suppose it makes sense, but
yeah,
I guess I'm not going to find a telling of the Gospels that moves me within the spooky Christian subgenre, for the most part.
Probably not. I think you just want to hear songs about actual werewolves and not like
I think so.
sinning werewolves.
Yeah. And
Gay,
I appreciate
sinning werewolves.
Which
I like, does sound pretty great if you ask me.
It does. I like pulling in. I always like thoughtfully pulling in theology and a faith outlook and tying it all together. I'm a spooky guy and I enjoy the Gospels and profess my faith in God. But maybe it comes down to like, maybe I don't need my Gospels and my werewolf songs and I can just have one or the other. I don't know.
By dawn, I am silenced.
Vibes.
Pretty much just vibes.
Just vibes. Real short one.
Real short. Vibing, slow burn.
Instrumental. I like that sort of like heartbeat, like deep drum machine sound there. But I think you're right. The more that I'm looking at this sort of progression of Break My Heart, Break Your Heart into Just Before You Die, into By Dawn I Am Silenced. So now, Jesus has died on the cross.
He's in the
Then
tomb.
Then we get Mystery after, then Broken I Stand, the resurrection. I think you're probably right. And maybe I just didn't have my Jesus goggles on properly.
Dude, you always gotta wear your joggles.
You gotta get your joggles on.
Gotta get your joggles on.
The joggles are kind of like the goggles that William Castle had people wear to see the ghosts in his movies. Exactly. You gotta wear the joggles to catch the Jesus in there, otherwise you might miss him.
Yep. Jesus flying over the audience.
That's not unlike some things I've seen at church services I've been in. As you're explaining that, as I'm sitting with it, I'm like, oh, I guess there's still stuff that I like trip on, including the next song that we'll get to. But I do like the idea of sort of, By Dawn I Am Silenced is a really cool title and it evokes a cool feeling. So some of this is like, I could see playing this, during sort of Lent season and getting some vibes with the story through some of these songs.
Are the eggs and serpents for eggs, are those like Easter eggs?
Could be. Is the Easter bunny a serpent in disguise?
I don't know. Is is the serpent going after the bunny? Or are those the eggs that the serpent's going for?
I think the Easter Bunny represents the way that the consumeristic West has ignored Jesus during the high holy days in favor of material goods.
I think the skull that's being crushed is the Easter bunnies.
I'll crush that bunny's skull. You'll hop no more.
All right. The penultimate mystery. Another long song.
5.5 minutes.
Song's kind of a nightmare.
But I like it.
I don't know what's going on with any of the sounds.
There's
so much atonal stuff going on.
Yes, for sure. Which again, if you're sort of
very
framing it as like
flat.
Yes. The mystery of sort of, I don't know, the crucifixion and the resurrection, like that takes on an interesting, like, of course, it's sort of atonal and weird. There is
not to be confused with atonement.
Exactly. Atonal atonement.
Yes.
At one-ment, I was taught it means.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, cool spacey female vocals, cool creepy melody, some electronica beats. There's a really cool synth bass sound that comes in a little later. I really like the guitar part and the melody that come in after that. But it is a weird song structure. It goes some interesting places over these 5.5 minutes. The vocals are then like doubled for the ending with like 2 female vocal tracks, and it's like creepy and effective. But there's like a propulsive beat for that section too, which is interesting. So maybe we could skip ahead a little bit toward the end and hear some of where it goes. I don't know. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, this song is just not for me.
Sure. I get it. It's very weird.
Yeah. What about those lyrics though?
When will you begin your killing spree? Let it begin with me. What does that mean, Andrew? If this is about Jesus, what are we talking about?
Put my joggles on again?
Yes, please put the joggles on. Who's killing? Who's me?
I mean, do we want to talk about this? Is this the bounty hunter then? Is the bounty hunter killing? Because then does the bounty hunter kill you and then you become a murderer? Because then it says, when will I begin my killing spree? Let it begin with you.
Yeah. And then it also closes with, that's how I love you, which again, is there sort of a weird romantic relationship between a bounty hunter and a victim? Is this about Jesus, and Jesus is saying, that's how I love you? Are we expressing our love to Jesus? I don't know. It's also possible that it's like, I like when bands employ faith stuff, but it's not to be like it's, the point is like, this is wrong. You know what I mean? Sometimes like, your favorite band ever, Low, has a song called Murderer, where it's like a prayer to God, like, let me be your murderer, someone to do your dirty work. And it's like, oh, this is messed up that this is how some people think about their faith, and like showcasing like, hey, this is the wrong way to do it. So maybe there's some of that here where it's like, we shouldn't be having killing sprees. I don't know. What do you think about all this?
you don't even know what tomorrow will bring, and I could change that all right now.
So I mean, that's Jesus, right?
Well, I don't know, because it's offering some level of certainty,
right?
Which, as we all know, is my favorite thing that Christianity tries to shoehorn into everything, is being absolutely certain about every single thing.
Yeah.
Would you be worth the bones I break? I don't know what the fuck is going on with this song, man.
Oh,
And this is also like the last song with lyrics, because the album ends with an instrumental. So like, what is the takeaway here?
Right. I don't know exactly, but I have to assume that it's something about dying to yourself, like you were saying. Like maybe the killing spree is the spree of people dying to their former selves and going with Jesus now. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot to chew on. I don't totally know what to make of all of it.
Chew on those bones.
I find it really interesting. I find it interesting, but I'm not totally sure what to make of all of it. And I'm not totally sure what to make of the metaphor of, okay, if that's our sort of mission statement, then what does it mean when the band plays and like murders you, like threatens the crowd the whole time and pretends to kill somebody? Like, does that? I lose the metaphor a little bit, and maybe you don't even need to. Maybe we could just celebrate murderous dudes and they're putting on a fun spooky show, and that's enough. But they're clearly reaching for something there if we keep getting sort of Jesus and murder mixed up. And what does that mean? So,
but then it ends with, and that's how I love you. So like, after an album of songs about like breaking bones and crushing skulls and like I don't know, I guess I'm missing the love, because the metaphor is sort of like a little bit like lost on me as the way it's delivered.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like, is it almost supposed to be like, after all that, and it's like, and that's how I love you, is it supposed to be like, oh, we shouldn't show love for God or for others by
murdering them
or by giving into wickedness? I don't know. I don't know. There's SS Bountyhunter, come on the pod. Let's talk through it.
Yeah.
But Andrew,
like, in addition to mostly find a little shitty, established 2018, Magpod could also be established 2018. Andrew and John overthink your band's lyrics.
Right. It's just what we do. But these bands invite us to do so. I would rather have stuff I can grapple with, than stuff that's obvious. So I appreciate it. I appreciate this project of this band and what they're doing, and I love a band with like lore and like a sort of outlook in terms of their entertainment presentation. Like, this is like an art project, and I think it's cool, even if I don't totally understand what's happening.
Right. Well, should we wrap it up with Broken I Stand?
Let's do it.
Quiet Closer was airplane taking off noises.
Yeah,
I do really like those parts where it cuts out for a second. I think that sounds cool.
Little space in your noise.
Yeah. I have a little space in my nightmare.
I don't. It's an odd one to close with, but I don't know. I mean, it's almost like peppy for them. It's very like fast electronic drums built around those like wah-wah pedal central guitar riffs, as you're saying. Just flat sounding simple synths here again. I don't know. It sounds a little bit like they're just kind of fucking around. Like it doesn't really go anywhere else, but it is a cool sound. I think it works to kind of close things. In the sense that as it goes on, there's sort of like an undulating sound that makes it almost like dizzying, where it's like as that sort of wah wah sound is going on, and the like flat synth just making it all kind of just like drones into this like, oh, weird. Like, and the idea of it being Broken I Stand, you know, however we want to think about it. Is this the bounty hunter or victim standing up in the face of the things that have happened? Is this Jesus resurrected? Is it interesting.
Is it my skull that Jesus is crushing, but the bounty hunter killing me for love?
Wait, it's got to be your skull.
It's your it's your bowl.
I can get a good look at Jesus' skull by sticking my head up there, but I'd rather take God's word for it.
I'd rather take the bounty hunter's.
There's a lot going on here.
The Tommy Boy reference.
Yeah. Isn't that obvious? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird, I guess when I imagine an album like this closing, I think of it being like very dark and quiet. So the fact that it's like, it's a little bit like, oh, weird. But I don't know. A lot of these songs, like the more that they go on and that sort of like dizzying sound comes in, I'm like, oh, it's like putting me under kind of a weird spell. So it is an interesting place to sort of end. I don't know, man. A fascinating band, a fascinating album. I'm sorry you didn't dig it as much as I do, even if I very much understand why you wouldn't or why anybody might not. But I don't know, for some reason, just the vibe of this thing really, really worked on me. I think it's cool that this scene has the sort of corners to include such bizarre stuff.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's not.
That's why I love this scene.
Totally. It's not. Yeah, there's room for so much, and it's not, as we'll talk about next week, it's not the Rackets and Drapes thing of like pushing what you might stereotypically think of as sort of like spooky and gothy just to do that. Like, I don't think that's what's happening here. They're doing interesting and original musical and sonic and thematic things here. Not just to be like, we're so weird. Although it is pretty weird. So
right.
Lots to chew on. Very eager to hear folks' thoughts about these guys. Let us know what you think of them, if you have past experiences of them. If you can hook us up with a exclusive interview to hear more about Jesus crushing our skulls, let us know at Magnified Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow and subscribe to the pod if you haven't already, and give us a rating or a review. 5 stars, please. We will read your review on the show. You can email us at magnifiedpod@gmail.com.
You can leave us a voicemail at 872-762-4763, 872-7MAGPOD.
You can support us over at the Patreon. That's patreon.com/magnifiedpod. And Andrew, we should say, as folks are listening to this week, we got a special Zoom hang coming up exclusively for our Patreon punks. So we're going to get together. Maybe we'll have some costumes. Maybe we'll bring some spooky beverages or treats. Maybe we'll swap some ghost stories. We'll hear more about the witch Cabbage Bible College in California from Jason if he shows up. It'll be a good time. You can join the ranks of the Patreon punks for just $1 a month to get the base level. What's it called? I don't know. The level that gets you to the Discord. You can join at other levels for access to other fun stuff, which we also have some other fun stuff coming up too. If you like horror movie commentaries from your dudes, check out that Patreon exclusively on that too. You can also pick up some new season 4 merch and some Magnifright Pod merch at our store at magnifiedpod.storeenvy.com. Thanks to Small Step Records for sponsoring us. Check out smallsteprecords.com to learn more. And thanks to shadow producer Jason and Bruno at Unoriginal Vinyl for our artwork. Well, I think I hear the voice of the spirit begging us to shut the fuck up. We'll be back to try to make you go astray next week when we'll unlock an episode from the box of the Patreon archives and talk to shadow producer Jason about Rackets and Drapes and Savior Machine. Yeah. merchants.
Crushing skulls for Jesus.
And my Jesus or a murderer.
Murder you.
Guess you'll never know.
Drink your blood.
It's so cool, though.
It's very cool.
I want to be murdered by them in a show. I volunteer as tribute.
Ooh, yeah. Hey guys, can you come back if you're, want to murder a couple people on stage? We would love to be in on that bit. You'd be like, hey, you guys, where's the guy that only nominally liked our album from 20 years ago?
Fucking cut you up, put you in a garbage bag, and throw you around the pit.
Yeah, they'll open up the pit. People will be stomping on my skull. That'll be great.
That's great. It sounds like Jesus. We've talked many possible reunions of these bands we've covered on the pod, but I would love a Magnifright pod specific reunion tour we could get going for some of these spooky bands. It would really be the best.
Yeah, I think we could. We have enough sway to make that happen.
I'm sure they're all ready to do that.
For more shows like this one, visit rockcandyrecordings.com.